How's it going, everyone? As you guys know, I joined Bitcoin Magazine in the end of April. It's an exciting job to be at, but I want you guys to be at the Bitcoin conference. So make sure to get your tickets by going to b.tc/conference. That's b.tc/conference. Use the promo code YTMAG, as in YouTube Magazine, for 21% off. The best promo code in the business. Since I joined Bitcoin Magazine, I love working for a Bitcoin-only company. It's great to work with other like-minded Bitcoiners. Make sure that I can see you there with other great Bitcoiners such as Preston Pish, Stephen Livera, even President of El Salvador, Bukele, will be there for Bitcoin 2022. That is, go to b.tc/conference and use code YTMAG at checkout for 21% off your conference tickets. Hope to see you guys there. Have a good one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Chris Alemo, and I am an amateur investor. This podcast is my open source journal of everything I learn about investing and wealth management. I'm here to explore the key concepts, market dynamics, and investing strategies that will assist you on the path towards financial independence and financial literacy. My mission is to build us from amateurs to experts. All suggestions are my own, and I recommend that you should do your own research before taking any investment advice. See you in this week's episode. I hope you enjoy. How's it going, everyone? This is episode 71 of the Amateur Investors. I'm joined by none other by Deniz, 58K gang leader himself. Really excited for this episode. I know we talked on episode 58. That was by design, but glad to have Deniz back. I know this was a few months ago that we were talking. Deniz, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's always fun.
So in the land of Bitcoin, it's been crazy. I know just recently, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, Luna is the stable coin, or I forget if it's Terra Luna or I don't even know, Terra, and they sell Luna, whatever. They're claiming that they're going to be buying about $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. It's kind of one of those things that I'll believe it when I see it. I also think it's really ironic that they don't trust their own coin that they have, because it's a shit coin or an altcoin. And they're basically, it seems like they're just trying to leverage to buy other Bitcoin. When I was doing the quick mental math on the napkin math, if you're buying $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin's market cap's about $800 billion. So while I don't think that they will be moving the market per se, I do think when you're buying that much Bitcoin, the price will be going up. I was just trying to take a rough estimate. I don't know how the order books would work, but if assuming that the average price of Bitcoin that they buy is at 58K, so obviously they'd be buying and pushing the price up. Let's just say they started buying right now at like 41K and they push the price to 50K, or it goes up to 55K, whatever it is, when they're doing all that buying, they would have about $200,000 worth of coins. And for those people that live in the real world, MicroStrategy just did this strategy over the last 2 years. They only have about 126,000 coins. They only have about 126,000 coins, and they actually have a real business with real operating revenue. They actually have certified debt. So this just kind of seems like a bunch of garbage to me, but I'll toss it over to Deniz. We'll see what he thinks about all this.
Yeah, man. It'd be great to see them pump it up back to 58K. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I think at that point, I saw a bunch of numbers thrown out around. It was like, so he bought, I forgot his name. It's like Quan something.
Yeah.
The founder. Yeah. So they already bought like 15 or $20 million worth of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think 125 million already of Bitcoin or something like that. Okay. I was having trouble confirming that, but that's what they were claiming.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know how we're supposed to confirm anything that they're planning on doing, but yeah, if they're planning on doing 10 billion, yeah, that's a lot of Bitcoin. They could probably, like, I don't know, just print all of their coins at that point. They could just trade all their Luna Bitcoin. I think that'd be the smartest thing to do. And maybe Quan's coming along and he's like thinking, oh yeah, I got this reserve amount of Luna, and maybe I can just diversify or whatever into Bitcoin. But it seems like, I don't know. It seems so out of left field to see something like that happen, but it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems, I mean, just looking at it in hindsight with them being a stable coin and basically being able to print their own currency, I mean, we're calling them, or it looks like they're just a Ponzi scheme, but that's literally what the federal government does. So, it takes one to know one kind of deal. I think it's pretty funny. To your point, I know I was looking into something else. I believe either on BlockFi or another company that does like lending. Luna is supposed to be backed $1 to $1, pretty much just like Tether. But the lending requirements, they require you to put up an extra 15%. It was 0.85% US dollars is equivalent to one Luna, meaning that basically they don't believe that there's full backing of that coin. And not to get into the nuance of it, but basically they're requiring you to put up more US dollars as collateral basically against it defaulting. So I thought that was very interesting. Someone pulled up a chart from, I believe it was BlockFi or Celsius or something like that, basically showing like, yeah, not even the lending companies, which we don't believe in this thing. So maybe it's just a pump and dump. Maybe it's just, he's just going to try and buy as much Bitcoin as possible before the printers burn out or before he gets caught or indicted by the SEC. But I guess it remains to be seen.
Yeah, is that whole operation located in the US, or I don't know anything about Luna?
I think it's Korean, if I'm mistaken, but I like I said, I don't look into these things too much. I just saw it very recently. I'll look
Yeah,
into it.
so if it is Korean, then well, I don't know. What's going on in Korea right now is that so they do have, I think, a president, or a candidate for like the presidency over there, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to make Korea, or South Korea, more crypto Bitcoin friendly. So I don't even know how they operate anything over there right now. If it's the situation over there is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if it's illegal, but they don't have any like regulation to actually have like an exchange or anything like that operate. So it's, maybe he went through a loophole of like, oh yeah, I'm going to start, I don't know, a hedge fund or something, and have like an ICO with stable coins or something, with whatever the money I don't know. Or maybe they have what is it? Like, they have a Cayman Islands situation where, yeah, their offices are located in Korea, but they have the whole thing set up in another country. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. It says their market cap right now is 33 billion, which is pretty absurd. I'm not
Yeah.
finding. Oh yeah, it's South Korean payment network is kind of what they're saying with what I've looked up. So yeah, it's a stable coin to do that. Very interesting though, to say the least. I guess segueing on to what's some other news. I know Greg Zog kind of got a lot of people, including even my own company, Bitcoin Magazine. I did not get got by it, but I know Twitter, everyone's just trying to compete and be better than everyone else. He was saying that Honduras was adopting Bitcoin as legal tender from a fake account. And I know a lot of news sources, not even just Bitcoin Magazine, but a lot of other YouTubers and stuff were saying that that they're adopting it. I know we talked with Samson Mao last week, and Samson is in talks with a Mexican finance minister about making, they're insinuating making Bitcoin legal tender in Mexico. I know he made the joke that he was in Guatemala or Argentina, and then like he made another tweet a day later saying, I'm in redacted country drinking redacted coffee, like not trying to say, because I think the day before he's like, oh, I'm in Guatemala drinking a nice Guatemalan coffee or something like that. So what are your thoughts on Samson Mao's transition from chief strategy officer to basically nation state orange pillar? And then also, what are your thoughts on the next nation state adopting Bitcoin?
For sure. Yeah, I think Samson's heading in the right direction with things, because I could see like his whole trajectory of like, okay, I'm a pleb, I'm learning this on my own. okay, like, I don't know how early it was. It was probably like what, 2011, 2012 or something like that when he got in. So after he got over that, it was basically like, okay, we need to make sure that the infrastructure for Bitcoin is, correct, and it can't be, messed with. And I think Bitcoin's at a more mature phase for him to be like, okay, I can start helping countries start like onboarding their citizens. So I think it's a good strategic play on his part, just based on like his knowledge of the space and how things work with side chains, layer 2 options, and even with Blockstream, because I think his main concern was like having the network stay consistent. So that's why they had something like a Blockstream satellite built out, so that even if like, I don't know, nation states or governments say, oh, no more power for you in this country, or no more internet for you in this country, well, they can still sync up with uh, their satellites out in space. So that kind of it's an easier sell, I think, for governments at that point who are considering to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender or use it to some capacity with like volcano bonds, for example, or anything like that. So yeah, I think as Bitcoin matures, so do a lot of the OGs in the space who can, move on to other things to make sure that Bitcoin gets bigger, Bitcoin gets more accessible. Um, yeah, I think Samson's doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, my thought process is he must have had demand in order to leave a company like BlockFi, or not BlockFi, my apologies, Blockstream. In order to leave a company like that and start doing consulting, he must have seen that there was a demand for it, because most people don't leave a job just to not have something lined up, or at least with customers in the wings after you've been in industry or working for a little bit. So it's very interesting. I know one of your states, New York, is potentially banning mining. I know it has made it out of the New York State Assembly just a couple hours ago. They were saying, I think Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, I think New York is just shooting themselves in the foot, exactly how China is shooting themselves in the foot. I think California will do the very same thing. I mean, California is shooting themselves in the foot unrelated to Bitcoin mining. I heard that they're making it so you're not allowed to have like leaf blowers or even like lawn mowers, or like all these like weird things without like a license. I think you need like a specific like lawn care license, because they're trying to reduce the amount of consumption of fossil fuel. Obviously, with everything going on, we're seeing prices surge here in the United States and abroad. The price of gasoline and the price of a barrel of oil is going through the roof. So they're trying to preemptively do this. They were doing this even before prices were going nuts. But I think they said by 2023 or by 2024, you need to, like, you will no longer be allowed to buy leaf blowers or lawnmowers or whatever without a license. I just think it's clown world just seeping in. I guess, what are your thoughts on the New York bill, and then what we're seeing around the world with oil prices?
Yeah, it's classic New York. They're just they're doing things for the sake of doing things. It's the same thing in California. I noticed that a lot too. It's the infrastructure and a lot of the institutions are crumbling. And you can see that, especially with California. You can see that with even like walking on the streets of LA. Yeah, like I went to, I think, like one of the city halls, or the main city hall over there, for some work, and they're just homeless people lined up on the streets outside of these politicians, buildings. And I'm just like, yeah, their their priorities are just so off. It's insane on like what should actually be done with what's going on. But I think I saw in that something that Michael Saylor tweeted about. I think it was like, what was it? He needed signatures or something to like redact the bill or something like that. It was I don't know. He posted something about it, but it said on it that it was specifically for like mining will not be used for fossil fuels or something like that. So it might get to the point where it's like, okay, you can mine, but like you said, they might need, specific licenses, and then they have to make sure that the types of energy they use are renewable or net carbon zero, or whatever buzzword they want to say. And yeah, I mean, the market's gonna move to where it's treated best. But I think it's sort of, it's sad to see. It's sad to see the state, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and that tri-state area just go into shambles because people feel like they need to do something in order to, they do something and they just make it worse all the time. At least with a lot of these people who are elected. And then we have Eric Adams, who's like, he's basically just trying to act and look cool by saying, oh yeah, I'm going to adopt blockchain. This is going to be the blockchain hub of, the United States. And it's nowhere close to what places like Miami and Austin are basically at. And even California, I'm sure there's a lot more of a community there for Bitcoin than New York City for sure. Because yeah, I don't know. I think most of the sane Bitcoiners have left New York City.
Yeah, I know Marty Bent and Odell, they were both New Yorkers and they both fled and got the heck out of there. Trying to get Deniz out of there as well. Yeah, no, I think it goes to show, even when I was living in New Jersey, Phil Murphy, he was running for re-election last November. And ultimately, it was a lot closer than he was expecting. It was even closer than I was expecting. But even he said something that was like very interesting for me. He was like during his election campaign, and this wasn't like taken out of context. It wasn't like an old clip. It was very recently. He's like, if New Jersey, like if you don't like high taxes, New Jersey's not the state for you. It's like, okay, noted. I don't know why you think that earns you votes when New Jersey, I mean, is probably only third or lower compared by California and New York. Like you're not even people that are in your party. It's like, wait, so you're not going to try and find ways to lower taxes or reduce my tax burden in this high tax state? Like that doesn't win you votes. I don't know why. It wasn't like he caveated with like, we have high taxes, but we've got like the best schools, the best healthcare, the best, like he didn't even do that. It was just like, oh, if you don't like high taxes, this isn't your state. So I just think it's very funny that the states that are high tax generating areas that just kind of like sucking off the teat of the people that live there. I think game theory plays out not just when we talk about Bitcoin, but it plays out when you just talk about normal economics. If it gets too expensive to live there, you either move, or the people that can afford to move, or the people that can't. I hate to say this, but like exactly what you said in California, you start to see homeless people losing their jobs, potentially losing their homes. Like it's horrible. And it only makes the place that they live even worse. You need to find ways to save your residents money and basically cut back on government spending. I think many Bitcoiners will agree with that. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add to that, Deniz.
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there with everything. It's just, it's sad to see how everything is played out. And a lot of those New Yorkers are, they're flooding the great states of Texas and Florida. And I would technically be one of those, but I know a lot of them are, they're just going to bring a lot of their terrible policies along with them, which is too bad. But things will move on, and we'll figure it out as time goes on. So there's really the only thing that you can worry about is getting your stack bigger. That's really it.
Yeah, every day you want to be stacking some Bitcoin, trying to extract money from the state by suffocating them. Think of it like snuffing out a flame, like when you put a blanket over it or covering it. That's basically what we're trying to do with Bitcoin to state officials. And it's very interesting. I know many of them pander on both the left and the right to say that they're about Bitcoin. I know there's been a lot of senators to come out against it. I don't know why. It's not like someone brought up a great point. It's like the people that embrace Bitcoin. I know many Bitcoiners have said they're single issue voters. So meaning that they're trying to vote in, like if this person's for Bitcoin and this person's against Bitcoin, they will vote in the person that's obviously for it. If both candidates are for it, then they actually can start looking at other values. But to go against something, to go against Bitcoin doesn't harm other people. And when I'm saying this, it's not like if you're I don't even want to pick like a hotbed topic, but it's like for Bitcoiners, being pro Bitcoin is like our number one vote. Where like if you're anti Bitcoin, like is that really your number one thing? No, that's probably like your number 10 or 20 thing. You know what I mean? Like there's other things that are higher above that, whether it's healthcare, more affordable rent, more like less taxes, like other things come up in priority. So being anti Bitcoin is just very ironic, I guess, or just very weird, I guess is the way that I'd say it. Anything that you want to add to that, Dennis?
Yeah, I think to just go out of your way to say, oh man, like they could just say nothing. They could be like, oh, I don't know enough about this topic. I don't know about Bitcoin or crypto, blockchain, whatever you guys are talking about. They could just say nothing, but I think it's getting to a point where a lot of these politicians have to have a stance, which is interesting. I like seeing that. It's like, okay, we kind of get an understanding of what their incentives are. Like if they're like Elizabeth Warren, for example, she's definitely funded by banks and like really traditional finance type of conglomerates. And it makes sense that, they're funding her to say, I don't know, stupid things about Bitcoin that don't make any sense or, have been debunked like countless times. But it's interesting seeing that play out. Because I have yet to see a senator or like someone running for position just say, I don't know enough about this. So I'm not going to have a stance on it. Or I guess they just don't say anything. But it seems like, yeah, a lot of them are just coming out saying like right off the bat, oh, I like it. Oh, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I know Nico from Simply Bitcoin always brings this up. He's like, I'd hate to see Bitcoin become political. Like he thinks it's apolitical money, and like we don't debate. Oh, Democrats use U.S. dollars and Republicans use U.S. dollars. No, it's they both use U.S. dollars. Oh, libertarians or, whatever party. I know we always joke and people say, oh, only money launderers and criminals use Bitcoin. It's like, well, actually, if you want to talk about it, they actually all use US dollars, or the majority of them use US dollars, at least fiat currency. So, yeah, I'd hate to see it get all political. I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I know we talked on Bitcoin Magazine Live. We talked to Dr. Jeff Ross. He runs Vailshire Capital, like hedge fund. And he was talking about just macro of all markets. So obviously Bitcoin's kind of gotten hampered. It's down from its all-time high of 68K or down around 42K. I know Dennis would love us to be at the 58K mark or hovering at least around there. But right now we're kind of down. I know the Fed is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Inflation right now is 7.9%. They bumped up interest rates 25 basis points, or 0.25 of a percentage point. Is pretty laughable when you're seeing inflation from their numbers that they manipulate at 7.9%, 2.5 basis points is pretty much a joke. I know people like to go back to the 70s or 80s. I think the 70s when Paul Volcker was trying to snuff out inflation, but the debt to GDP was only around 40 or 50%. Whereas now we're at 120, 130, 140% debt to GDP. And on top of that, like the amount of outstanding debt of corporations and the federal government's only getting larger. So they actually can't afford to bring interest rates up, because then they can't roll over their debt or continue to pay the debt that they have without printing exorbitantly amounts of more money. I know Jeff is talking about, he sees everything being very bearish, or at least risk on assets. So he sees gold and basically food stocks. Like he even made a joke like Hershey's, while things are bad, people are eating candy and stuff, but just companies that provide food and gold and a couple other things that he sees like that have real value aside from supply chain issues that they may face, seeing that they're real. Oh, energy is the other one as well. Obviously, as the shortage happens, the price of oil goes up. So it costs more and they're getting more revenue for doing that. But he sees all the FANG stocks, he sees Bitcoin, he sees banking stocks, he sees all these different things, basically pretty much everything else that I didn't list. We're kind of in a bearish collapse, kind of as the stock market's going down, the S&P's down, Bitcoin's down, FANG stocks are down. And he thinks things are only going to get worse in the next 3 to 6, 12 months. And then after the floor falls out, then he'll go back into more bullish where it'll be all risk on. And then Bitcoin will rise from the Phoenix. I know he said something that he's looking forward to is potentially seeing if Bitcoin actually breaks away from all these other asset classes. So it may fall in the short term, but actually rallies while the stock market's collapsing. I know I just talked a lot there. I guess, Dennis, what are your thoughts on the macro landscape of everything that's going on?
Yeah, I would definitely like to see us BART up to 58K, then do Dr. Ross's like little dip, and then go back up from there. Sort of like a 2018 type of or 2019 type of scenario. We get stuck in a valley, but I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. But I think I'm pretty bullish on a lot of the plebs and the Lightning Network, just because those, like the smaller wallets, when I say plebs, I'm talking about like 0.1 or 0.01 Bitcoin being withdrawn from exchanges into these wallets. Those are continually going up. So are, the metrics for like Lightning Network capacity. I think we're at like 35, 50 or 60, 3,500 Bitcoin that are locked away in Lightning right now, and that's going up. And the nodes are continuing to go up as well. So I don't know. I like to see all of the background metrics continue to be bullish, even though the outside and the macro is looking kind of, scary or whatever for everyone. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, which is part of the fun, I guess. So if I get cheaper Bitcoin, that's great. If I don't get cheaper Bitcoin, well then, all right, it's going to be harder for new people to accumulate as much as they want at that point. So I don't know. It's sort of like a win-win for people who are already in the space. But if you're new, it's like, it's it gets kind of intense. Like you get that anxiety. I think, yeah, Michael Saylor was talking about that, and I totally related to that. I think the first year I really got into Bitcoin, like, oh man, if this price goes up like way too much, I'm not gonna be able to get the amount that I wanted. And I don't know. I don't envy that position if you're new. But I think, yeah, I think within like, by the next halving, things are just going to be great, and you just have to be patient and wait for the next halving for things to, like, it's likely that things are going to be way better by then.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as Dennis is saying this, we're about almost 2 years away from the next halving. I think it's next or May of 2024. If I'm not March or May, I forget. I looked at it very recently. Mm-hmm. So we're almost 2 years out from it. And basically, like Dennis was saying, when the halving occurs, we're going from 6.25 Bitcoin down to 3.125 Bitcoin. So, only going to be smaller for the amount that's being mined by the Bitcoin miners. I think we're on for greener pastures then, whether we're in a valley right now. I can completely relate to what you were saying about Michael Saylor and yourself being like panicked when you're feeling like you don't have enough. I think we're all short Bitcoin right now when we don't have enough for when it occurs. But I definitely agree. It's definitely like a panicked, you're having trouble. Like, I don't want to say heart palpitations, but you're like having trouble sleeping at night. You're like, I need to figure out ways to get more of this. I remember when I first really got into Bitcoin, officially I'm class of 2020, and I was liquidating a bunch of my stocks from Robinhood, like all of them, and putting into Bitcoin. And, obviously with T2 clearing times or a decent amount of money that's moving from my Robinhood account to my bank account, I was like, it's not coming fast enough. And I'm watching as the price is like ticking up. I'm like, oh, of course. Like, I wish it was consolidating lower, but here we are. It's all good. Looking back, even like I was looking back at the history of my hardware wallets, and I was definitely, I tested a few transactions at like $50 or $10, moving them over to my hardware wallet. I think I'm going to look back. I even looked back at it recently. I'm like, wow, I moved a lot of money in equivalent in Bitcoin in just like full on like, okay, I get it. The network works. And like, I remember sending in a large transaction and I was just kind of like playing video games. I'm all nervous. Like, I know it's going to go through, but like, what if I fat fingered like a wrong decimal or a wrong like symbol for sending this transaction? I think I even did it manually, not with a QR code. So you definitely got to be even more careful when you're doing that. That way. So I guess moving on from the macro environment, Dennis, I got to ask, are you going to Bitcoin Miami in 2022 in April?
No plans to at this point. No.
All right.
I know it's gonna be a lot of fun because it's like I guess what is it? It's like 3x the amount of people or something from
Oh yeah,
from the
yeah.
last
Like,
night.
yeah, we're
It's
trying
gonna
to
be
two
huge.
exit, three exit from there. I know we've got a
Yeah.
large turnout. This will be the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world. Working on the team, I've already seen the ticket sales are more than they were last year, and last year was a big event. Still in the midst of COVID, but coming out of it. I guess so. Since you won't be there, I'm actually bummed that I will not get to see you there, Dennis. But I guess what are you most looking forward to while you watch? I'm assuming you'll be watching the conference on either YouTube or Rumble or Twitch or one of our platforms. So what's the biggest announcements that you're looking forward to of either companies or people or announcements from any of the speakers that have been announced for the conference?
Uh, I think it's pretty cool that you guys got Jordan Peterson. I saw that and I was like, oh, that's awesome because a lot of his followers, they definitely are not into Bitcoin, but if some of them pick up on some of his interviews there, I think it'll be great for them to at least get that exposure. I mean, that's what I always like to see when someone who's like not really in the space get into the space and then realize, oh, okay, this is probably the network I should build out with people and start to know, like even Tony Hawk. I mean, uh, it was cool seeing Tony Hawk, I think, at the last one, and then him
Mm-hmm.
talking about Bitcoin, like what he was into about that. And then, yeah, I guess, I don't know what else would, oh, and the announcements that President Nayib Bukele is going to talk about. He's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have like two countries or whatever, accept Bitcoin as legal tender. So it'd be interesting to see if he announces something like that with another president or on a panel or something like that, or even with Jack. I mean, it'd be pretty cool to see the president with Jack Mallers, and then yeah, I think those are probably going to be like the two biggest highlights, at least for me, if I was going.
Yeah, and even I work at Bitcoin Magazine, but I know the conference team, they're the ones putting it on. We're just kind of helping with like the media partnership of it all, of like running the conference and getting it out to all of our platforms. But they've been very tight-lipped, even to us and someone that works there, like not telling us things. And we're only 16 days out, 15 days out, I forget what it is. So it's pretty funny that they're keeping it very tight to the chest of all the things that are going on. So I'm excited. I'm sure I will be surprised once I get there as well. So Dennis, before we wrap this up, I guess, why are you bullish right now about Bitcoin? Anything else you want to add?
Uh, why am I bullish? I don't know. It's the only thing that makes sense. Uh, like if you bring up any other hot topic or even like nothing to do with like the craziness that's going on in the world, like if you're bringing up like the type of work you do within like a typical 9 to 5 job, it's sort of like, well, that's pretty far off the mark of something that's like going on with Bitcoin. Or I don't know. I don't for me at least, it's like there's nothing else that really matters, I think, at this point. Um, a lot of people would probably disagree with that, like outside of the Bitcoin space for sure. It's like, oh yeah, we got this problem, we got that problem. It's like, yeah, that all stems from, the fiat just not working. And it might take some people a little bit to figure that out at some point. But um yeah, I mean, specifically why I'm bullish, I guess I would probably fall more into the category of like being unconfiscatable, which is great to see. I mean, with the developments that happened in Canada, and I guess even with Ukraine and Russia, on both sides. So I mean, whatever your politics are on that situation, basically the people from both countries and Belarus and probably soon Poland are going to have, well, they had a ton of issues just getting their money out. So I hope people are paying attention, but I don't really think they are. They're more worried about who's on whose side and who's like, who's supporting who. It's like, I mean, at the end of the day, you're I think everyone's priority should be how to preserve as much wealth as they can so they can, ride out the storm and then start a new life by 2028, 2030.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think a lot of people don't think outside their own little bubble, whether that's on Twitter or whatever. But exactly to your point, I mean, we watch the Canadian truckers get their insurance and their bank accounts closed. Then we watch Ukrainians as they're getting bombed. Obviously, they can't sell their house in a pinch. No one wants to buy it as things as mortars or bombs or missiles are raining down on them. And then they're trying to get out of the country, but then the banks are running out, quite literally out of fiat currency in order for them to take out of their banks, which is owed to them. While also at the same time, Russians are getting cut off of the SWIFT system. And while I disagree with Putin and his cronies for attacking Ukraine, I don't disagree with the other 133 million Russians that are just like you and me, Dennis, that they speak a different language. Maybe they look slightly different than us. But, I have nothing against them, barring the fact that they're not going out there and part of the military and killing other people. I have no qualms or no issues with them, but yet they're being punished by, whatever their dictator is doing. Obviously, their currency is kind of collapsing. I know it went up or it inflated by 25% as you're getting cut off from the SWIFT system. And Bitcoin's a great way for them to escape the tyranny of basically, improper, I don't even want to say like money printing, and just like getting demonized by the West, and also just improper, I don't want to say like taken care of, but like just Putin's not doing a good job protecting their wealth by obviously they're getting cut off from the Swiss system and all of that. So, but I agree. I think many people are still very much asleep at the wheel, and they don't see the importance of Bitcoin till, it won't be long before other people are getting their bank account censored because they went against whatever the narrative is now. And that's a real shame. I don't want that to be the case. I want people to be on a Bitcoin standard, or at least have a big portion of their net worth, not financial advice, but just some of Bitcoin aside, that in the event that, oh, you can't sell your stocks in order to get money, your bank account's closed, the gold is seized at the vault that you have it stored at, whatever it is, you can't sell your house because you're being attacked, whatever it may be, you have another form of wealth that can't be confiscated, exactly your point, unconfiscatable, in order that you can use in a pinch. And not saying people should be using Bitcoin in a pinch, but it's always a good tool in your tool chest to have to prevent anything like this happening. Dennis, I guess if there's anything else you want to add before I close it out.
Yeah, everything you said made sense. Yeah. It's funny because I do follow a few YouTubers from Russia and Ukraine, and just getting like both of their perspectives. It's yeah. The only thing that well, I guess that everyone who suffers the most are, it's basically the normal citizens. They don't have a dog in this fight at all. They're just trying to live their lives. Like, no one wanted this to happen at all. But at the end of the day, you're sort of like you're just cannon fodder for these politicians, and it's a lot of, I don't know if that's going to happen in the US, but like if someone's like a diehard supporter of whatever politician in the US, it's and they're not in Bitcoin, yeah, they're going to end up the same way as the Ukrainians and Russians who basically get their livelihoods uprooted. And yeah, I don't think that like a lot of the content creators there are able to get paid now because they can't do work outside of their country. Even if they get out, it's still hard for a Russian to basically open up a bank account at that point. So a few of them have resorted to, accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but they're not like they're not super orange pilled at all. So even if they can access the funds, most likely they have to spend it all just to survive. So it's kind of unfortunate, but at least a lot of them are moving to places like Georgia, and they can stay there technically for 360 days or something without a visa. So they do have options if they're willing to leave or move, but not all of them are going to do that. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Dennis, you brought up a great point. I've even heard, I mean, obviously Europe and Asia, I don't want to say are more open, but they're kind of like the United States. You can travel without them with much less restrictions. And I've heard
Mhm.
stories of people that, maybe their kids are Russian, but they're studying college or going to university in another country in the EU, whether it's, England or France or Spain or whatever you have it. And some of the kids, they're Russian citizens, and they couldn't use their credit cards and bank accounts, even though they're Russian, but they're living abroad. And basically they're like, I've done nothing wrong. I don't even live in Russia. I didn't even know what was going on, barring I looked at the news media, obviously, to see what was going
Mhm.
on. And their accounts are getting closed. It's like, why are you closing my account? I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? It's just like by association. And that's horrible. It's horrible. That's the only way I can say it. I'm bullish for Bitcoin because
Yeah.
of the properties that it has for withstanding tyranny, withstanding governments, withstanding dictators, withstanding, pretty much anything. Yeah, I truly see it as a protocol or a tool that's going to outlive me. I hope to give it to my future kids that I don't have, or great grandkids, or whatever it may be, grandkids. But yeah, so I really hope that is the case. And I think we're just going to wrap it up there. So Dennis, thanks so much for coming on the show. If someone wants to find out more about you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and on YouTube as well. But yeah, I don't know, if you want to hang out, we can hang out. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Chris. It's always a blast, like being on this stuff and just talking. Yeah.
I love shooting the shit. So, Dennis, it's been a pleasure having
Yeah.
you on. Everyone, thanks for listening. Make sure to get your tickets to the Bitcoin conference. We're in 16 days now. Go to b.tc/conference. Use the code YTMAG for 10% off your conference tickets. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Peace.